Hello and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. This is episode 93. Thanks for watching tonight. We're going to be discussing the Breeders' Cup, a recap of the races of this year's 2021 Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. I had a fantastic time. Thank you very much for joining me on tonight's show. Please make sure you subscribe right there, bottom right hand side of the screen. Make sure you subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arise. We have a lot of new subscribers. I really want to thank all of you for subscribing to the HHH Racing Podcast. You can find me on Twitter. You can see on my name tag there at H Kravitz. I sent out a lot of information on Twitter this past weekend, pictures, stories, comments about the Breeders' Cup as I was at Del Mar for a great weekend. I'll tell you all about it. Also, you can reach me through email, hkravitzhorse at gmail.com. You can see it on the scroll on the bottom right there. Also, on the scroll on the bottom, it will talk a little bit about tomorrow night's show. Tonight I'm going solo. We're going to have a little bit of a shorter show tonight. I think you'll really enjoy tonight's show, but tomorrow night is a must watch. Tomorrow night, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Central Time, I will have on the BCBC, the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge champion. Matt Miller will be here tomorrow night to discuss all of his winning moves from the tournament this past weekend and in general live money contest strategy. If you're a horse player and especially if you're interested in getting into contests, and they don't have to be huge sums of money contests, they could be $50 live money contests. It doesn't matter the denomination. You're going to want to join the show as well. Matt Miller here live, the BCBC champion for 2021. Before I get started into the races, I also want to mention the Race Day blog. I gave out a Race Day blog, sent it out to all the people that subscribed to the Race Day blog. I also sent it out to people who were new subscribers of this channel. Hope you enjoyed the blog. I think it was 8 pages long, covering Friday and Saturday races. We had a lot of fantastic hits on that blog. Some horses that I pointed on the blog that come to mind: Pizza Bianca 9-1, Aloha West 11-1, a long shot, Charmaine's Mia, who finished a good third in the turf sprint. Loves Only You, I gave out as a top pick, 4-1 in the Philly and Mare turf on Saturday. Had a lot of nice scores on the race day blog. If you received it, I'm sure you did well over the weekend. If you've not received it, you can see the information there on the screen. Also, you can look below the video player in the description. Below the video player in the description, you can find out how to purchase the Race Day blog. It's inexpensive. It's a great deal. A lot of good information. Pick fours, pick fives, ABC grids, spot plays. Highly recommend if you have not received the Race Day blog, you check that out through patreon.com. I really think it'll be well worth your betting dollar. A lot of people here tonight. Let's check out some of the comments here. We've got C Money. C Money is here. He was the first one on. Thanks for joining. Joe Solito, great viewer. Barry O'Brien. Barry, you're welcome. Oh, wow. Dime super for Barry. I'll tell you what, that had to pay nicely. That was a wide open race. Barry, congratulations. You're welcome. Gabriel Espinoza. New viewer I'm not too familiar with. Gabriel, thanks for joining the show. Richard Flax, triumphant return to the victorious scene or post-mortem. I'd say somewhere in between, Richard. We'll talk about it. Let's see what else we got here. Richard, thank you for promoting the blog. It was very thorough. I spent a lot of time in it, Richard. Hopefully you cash out on some of those blogs. Barry, wow, 2K. Barry, fantastic with that super. Um, we'll talk about the the Juvenile Fillies turf a little bit tonight. Barry, congratulations on that score on the super with Pizza Bianca on top. So we have a great people joining the show. Please Call your friends, neighbors, get them to join the show for our live chat tonight. Like I said, we're going to go a little bit shorter tonight. Before I talk about my experience at Del Mar and the races, I want to publicly thank a few people, and I wrote a few things down. The first person I want to thank for my experience out at Del Mar this past weekend is Peter Thomas Fornatale. PTF is one of the founders of In the Money Media. Uh, Fantastic company, along with Jonathan Kitchen. If you are paying attention at all to horse racing media, especially through the internet, you know Peter Thomas Fornatale. Treated me like a king all weekend. I spent a lot of time with him. Greatly appreciate everything you did for me, Peter. Thanks a lot for the weekend. I also want to thank two new friends of mine that I met, Brad Anderson, BCBC winner, and Matt Miller, who I spent time with both them. Matt Miller, of course, won this year's BCBC, both originally from the Chicago area. Matt currently lives in the Chicago area. Brad now lives in Florida, but spent much time with those two fine gentlemen over the weekend as well. Thanks, guys. You made my experience that much more pleasurable. Want to thank the Pacific Coast Grill. Folks, if you're in the San Diego area, more specifically in the Solana Beach area by Del Mar, Pacific Coast Grill restaurant. Oh my. Ate there twice. It's right on the ocean. It's absolutely gorgeous. Fantastic food. Shout out to the Pacific Coast Grill. Also, I want a final shout out to people that run the BCBC contest. Tim Schramm, who I had a pleasure to meet, spent some time with him. Fantastic job. And also Jim Goodman, who helps run the tournament and is also very involved at Keeneland Racetrack. Thank you to those two gentlemen. You guys both ran a first class contest. It was fantastic. We're going to talk a lot more, folks, about the BCBC on tomorrow's show. So, again, please make sure that you join us for that. Last thing, I have to admit I was a little bit of a fanboy as I go to my phone here. I was a little bit of a fanboy this past weekend. I'm not one who gallivants across the country and sees a lot of live horse racing events. This was my first Breeders' Cup event. I've never been to the Kentucky Derby. I'm starting to make my way around the country. I've been to Gulfstream, been to Keeneland, but this was fantastic. And I just want to quickly read off some of the people that I met at Del Mar. Now, when I say met, I don't mean just like, wave hello. I mean shook hands with and had conversations with. Are you ready for this? Naomi Tucker from In the Money. Frank Maramati, of course, the racetrack announcer at San Nita. Matt Bernier, I had a chance to meet with him. I also want to thank Matt, actually, who gave me some time. I try not to bother him too much because he was involved, of course, with the NBC broadcast. But Matt, thank you for giving me a few minutes this weekend. We had some great conversation. I sent a picture of him and myself out on Twitter. His partner, Eddie Olchek. I had a pleasure to meet Eddie first time in person. Both those gentlemen I had on my show. Excuse me. Chris McCarron, fantastic jockey. Mike Beer from DRF. Ramon Dominguez could not have been nicer. Talked to him, former jockey, great guy. I have a ton of respect for Ramon Dominguez. Joaquin Jaime from TVG. Todd Trupp from TVG. Had a nice conversation with him. Mike Joyce from TVG. Maggie Wolfendale, from the Naira network. And her husband, Tom Morley, who is a fantastic trainer. Kim Weir. Kim is highly involved with the TRF, the Thoroughbred Retirement Fund. Met her at a dinner. Fantastic woman. Thank you very much, Kim. You were so nice to me. Acacia Courtney. Of course, we know her from Fox. Vic Stauffer, who was on my show, announcer at Oaklawn. And then finally, Gary Stevens. Fantastic, of course, jockey, Hall of Famer, as well as Chris McCarron is as well. And of course, Gary Stevens also on the Fox network. Listen, that's not just name dropping. I met a lot of fantastic people. There's no way I would have had a chance to meet these people if I were not at the BCBC and part of the BCBC contest. And some of those people I also met through Peter Thomas Fornatale and In the Money Media. So again, thank you very much to all those people here. Jimmy's on the show. Uh, Sorry about that. Did not want to show that. Greatly apologize. Not quite appropriate, but anyway, didn't read it. That's why I should read comments before I put them on the show. Acacia's fantastic. She was very nice. Um, okay, I think those are all the comments that I want to see. Let's get into the races, folks. So here's what we're going to do tonight. And again, feel free to comment in the live chat about anything that you like regarding these races. Tom Espinoza, Tom, good friend of mine from the San Francisco area. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I will have to say, Tom, and everyone else watching, uh, best horse racing weekend of my life. And not because of the money that I won or lost. In fact, I did have one nice score that I'm going to talk about tomorrow, and I did have a profitable weekend. I was up a little bit, but that's not why it was so enjoyable. The atmosphere was great. The weather was it was good. It was better on Saturday, a little bit foggy and a little bit cool on Friday, but the whole experience was just absolutely fantastic. Uh, and I will be sleeping very well at the end of next this upcoming weekend because I'm still a little bit tired. So bear with me. Got in about midnight Sunday night. Obviously, I've been working this week. I'm a school teacher. I've been getting up early. Look forward to getting some sleep this upcoming weekend. Let's jump right into the races, folks. We're going to literally spend about 2 minutes per race. We're not going to watch replays. I'm going to talk very briefly about who I liked in the race, how they did, and we'll talk anything that comes up with these races. I'm going to go in order of the races we saw. So let's go ahead and start as I bring up the first race of the day for the Breeders' Cup. The first race of the day was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Sprint, and it's not this race. Apologize. Let me get to the race that I wanted to show. Juvenile Turf Sprint. There we go. Twilight Gleaming. There you go, folks. The winner was Twilight Gleaming. I'm going to go full screen a lot tonight. I see Michael Bryant is here on the show. Michael, thank you very much for joining the show. I'm going to go full screen for a bunch of the show tonight, so you don't really need to see me. You can just hear my voice. Uh, Wesley Ward does it again. Did not have a strong opinion in this race. Did not bet it very much. Twilight Gleaming broke like an absolute shot out of the gate. Wired the field. It was a very bunched finish, as you can see there. Go Bears Go, Coffee Maker. The two horses I was interested in most in this race that I did make some small bets with. Dairy Nane finished a very good closing fourth. You see the favorite, Averly Jane, and Armor finished about seventh. It's a little deceiving, folks. It was a very bunched finish. I think Armor finished, what is it, seventh here? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Actually finished eighth, but he literally lost by, I don't know, 2.5 lengths. And Dairy Nane, who finished fourth, was about a length back, maybe a length and a half. And by the way, past the wire, Dairy Nane blew by the whole field. So again, it doesn't matter for your mutuals. It doesn't help me in the win play show betting, of course. But Dairy Nane, the 11, I think it's a horse to look forward to next year. It's a nice horse for Clement. Closed very well. I did bet him win in place. Was just too far back. You just cannot be too far back, going 5 furlongs in turf sprints. And the bottom line is Dairy Nane and Armor, two horses that I liked, were just too far back. I realized they were closers. I thought Armor would be a little bit closer up, frankly, or maybe Dairy Nane. They were like last and second to last, or towards the back of the pack. They needed to be up closer. They were not. They both still ran on well. Frankie Tubbs is here. Frankie, like Go Bears Go. Listen, Go Bears Go was very good. A lot of the Euros showed up this weekend. He was very good to finish a close second. Dairy Nane got in, excuse me, Twilight Gleaming got an 84 buyer for Wesley Ward, wins the Turf Juvenile Sprint. Once again, congratulations to the connections of Twilight Gleaming. Let's go on to the. So again, I made a very small bet there, not in the Actually, I did bet in the contest. We'll talk about my contest plays tomorrow, folks. So I would do me a favor. Don't ask me too many questions or really any questions at all in the chat. about who I bet in the BCBC contest or whatever. Let me go full screen for a second. A few things. First of all, I'll get into details, like I said. I listen. I'm an open book, folks. I'm not going to BS you guys that are watching at home and ladies that are watching at home, whether it be live or replays. I will tell you what happened. Not only that, the BCBC picks. There were 500 and I think 45 people in the contest, a record number of people in the contest. The picks that we'll talk about tomorrow will be made public. I think it takes about a week for them to be made public. So if you want to see every single play I made in the BCBC, or every single play that Matt Miller, our champion, or Jonathan Kinch who finished second, whatever, you'll be able to see them. They're gonna be public knowledge. So you'll be able to talk about those. Um, uh, when you see them, and you can feel free to send me emails, or we can talk about that on future shows. But tonight's show is not a BCBC show, so we won't be talking about that. All right, let's go ahead to the next race. I'm going to go ahead and flip my screen here. We're going to talk about the Juvenile Fillies next as I go ahead and get to that race here. If you just give me 1 second. Friday, Juvenile Fillies. The Juvenile Fillies turf race. This race, I will admit, I made a relatively big bet on. Now I say relatively big. Again, you have to remember, folks, that you have to make a minimum $600 bet if you want to take care of your mandatory bet. So when I say fairly big, we're talking about I covered the minimum, which means I made at least $600 bet. Echo Zulu was fantastic in this race. Wired the field. I thought there was other speed in the race with the Juju's map and Tarabi. The bottom line is Juju's map didn't break fantastically. Tarabi broke fine, but really wasn't used aggressively. And my top choice in this race, the number 2 Hidden Connection, was pretty disappointing, I must say. What happened? Well, she broke step slow. She sort of stutter stepped out of the gate. I thought she'd be right in behind the leaders, and then when she stutter stepped out of the gate, she was right next to the number 1 Desert Dawn for a good portion of the race. So not only did she break a step slow, she was not on the rail, which actually wasn't a great place to be. My point of that was she was, had someone next to her. I wouldn't say it was claustrophobic, but she did have someone next to her. And, Hidden Connection made a little bit of a middle move, but really flattened out. I must say it was a pretty disappointing effort for Hidden Connection and jockey Raylu Gutierrez, who I had on my show, who was fantastic. I'm sure uh, everyone involved with Hidden Connection was disappointed with her. I think she's got a nice future, though. It just wasn't her day. Echo Zulu wired the field. She was awesome. Echo Zulu got a very good 94 buyer, winning wire to wire. You can see at 4 to 5 odds. Congratulations to Steve Asmussen and the connections of Echo Zulu. Not really too much to say in the race. I think many of these girls, Juju's Map, Hidden Connection. Tarabi, I think, is more of a sprinter. It was not a big field, but I think it was a pretty classy field of ladies. I expect them to go on and show a lot of talent and get some more grade stake wins next year as a 3-year-old. Whoops, excuse me, folks. I want to do that. All right, let's go on to the next race. This is the juvenile. Now, the Juvenile Fillies turf. As I go ahead and switch my screen to the Juvenile Fillies turf. Again, I'm not going to watch replays tonight, folks, because most of you watching, I'm sure, saw these replays, and saw these races live. And there's really, if you want like full down, big time analysis, I'll be showing these horses back, of course, in races coming up. So, you know, these horses will be talked about, but I want to keep the show a little bit shorter tonight. Now, this race, ladies and gentlemen, was the start of some very nice picks for me and also people on the blog. Again, I did talk about this on my preview show. This horse, Pizza Bianca, talked about her quite a bit on the preview show last week. And by the way, let me just go full screen for a second. Record number, folks. Record number of people. I put a lot of time in the Breeders' Cup. A lot of time. We had 5 shows on this podcast totaling almost 7 hours. That's right, we had almost 7 hours, almost 8 hours actually. Somewhere between 7 and 8 hours of coverage on this podcast covering the Breeders' Cup. My preview shows were last week, Tuesday and Wednesday, every single show of mine that I had, except for the pre-entry show, which I knew that show wouldn't have as many viewers. It was just sort of a quick commentary about the pre-entries. But the other four main shows, over 1,000 views, folks. We had more than 5,000 views of all the Breeders' Cup shows right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Thank you so much. If you watched any of or all or bits and pieces, whatever you did, I want to greatly appreciate all the viewers, you folks who watch the HHH Racing Podcast. Not only that, we're up to about 615 subscribers. Let's keep that going. I want to get that march towards 1,000. And so I greatly appreciate that. Not only that, let me just real quick, I'll tell you something that blew me away. Folks, I'm like not famous at all. Listen, I'm just a guy who does a podcast. I greatly appreciate all the attention I've received, through emails, and all of you folks have been great. I'll tell you a few surreal moments at the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. I'm walking around. I would say legitimately throughout the weekend, I don't know, 7, 8 people just came up to me out of the blue. And they're like, "Hey, Howard." And I didn't know these people at all. And your first instinct, of course, is like, "Who are you?" Or like, "Do I know you?" Like, that's the first thing you'd probably say, right? I've learned not to really say that because chances are they're viewers of the podcast. Sure enough, every single one. I love your show. I've watched you on YouTube, like, blew me away. Folks, I'm not saying that like to toot my own horn. I don't have this podcast to get like attention or try to like become famous. Like, that's never been my goal from day one. I just love talking about horses. The fact that a bunch of people, like one guy was from California, someone else from like South Dakota, flew to the Breeders' Cup, and so I mean, listen, I was blown away. Mike Beer from DRF, who is, knows Matt Bernier and knows some people in the money, of course. I shook Mike Beer's hand. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know your name. I've seen you on YouTube. I know about you." Guys, Mike Beer is one of the most respected people in the business when it comes to horse racing, handicapping, and people, through the internet and the media. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So anyway, and I knew it was genuine. So it is pretty cool, I must say, to be noticed even just a little bit. Again, that's not why I'm doing it, but it is pretty cool. So I will always stay very humble and stay who I am, but thanks to those people and everyone who's, watching the show. Anyway, if you comment, Christine, no, I am definitely not a YouTube star, Christine, but working my way up. So thanks to that. And speaking of Christine, I appreciate that, Christine. I did give out pizza, Bianca, and she enjoyed the races far more after watching your shows. Thank you, Christine. Really do appreciate that. And again, Christine, the more female viewers we can get, the better. Let's get the ladies watching the show. I know there are a lot of women that are interested in horse racing. So again, folks, please spread the word. Whether you're a man or a woman out there watching the show, let's get everyone involved. Um, and again, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw some questions out there. I see some questions in the chat as well. I will get into that. Um, Pizza Bianca. Pizza Bianca was one of my regrets of the weekend is I didn't bet this horse a lot. I bet this horse a little bit, and then, to be honest, I did not even bet this horse in the contest. I just didn't have a strong feeling for this race. I liked Pizza Bianca. Shocked, shocked. This horse went off at 9-1. I have to say, um, great place money too. Good show money, 660. The ride on Pizza Bianca, I believe, was Jose Ortiz. If someone wants to correct me on the chat, I believe it was Jose Ortiz on Pizza Bianca. Um, what a ride! I was watching the races uh, from the fourth floor outside with my binoculars. Great view, great view. And Pizza Bianca got shuffled back on the backstretch a little bit, and was like, yes, it was Jose. Thank you, Frankie Tubbs chimes in. It was Jose Ortiz. Um, on the turn, I almost put my binoculars down and said, "Oh well, I guess this horse isn't going to get there." He found a way through on the inside, weed through like 4 or 5 horses. The got lucky with the holes opening up for Bobby Flay. Chef Bobby Flay is the owner. Wow, Pizza Bianca 9-1 wins the Juvenile Fillies turf. Fantastic job. Um, Tom Espinoza. Uh, definitely don't need security. Maybe get my brother. Yeah, my brother was at. I met Tom Espinoza at the San Francisco airport in August. Not on this trip, but on another trip. Uh, yeah, no, my brother. I don't need security for sure. Um, See money, I agree. I don't know about a million to one at the top of this stretch, but fantastic ride. Um, so anyway, Michael Bryant also has a question. Pizza Bianca wins the Juvenile Phillies turf. Michael Bryant. So Michael, all these questions I'm going to answer tomorrow. Michael, I hope you can come to the show tomorrow. I will talk about my picks and what I wish I did better and etc. and things I really enjoyed. I don't really want to get into that tonight, Michael. My apologies, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. Um, what I was surprised about in this race is Miss On Scene. I liked a little bit. Was up close. Sort of. I think that took away some of her kick. That surprised me. I was against the Chads. I talked about it on my show. I will say Haughty ran pretty well, but Haughty was 6-1, and Consumer Spending was both 6-1. I didn't like either one of them. I didn't like them before. During my preview, I talked about that. But it's the Chads, and you got bet. So this is a perfect example of going against Chad Brown and getting paid. I will say Haughty did run better than I thought. Spending didn't run great. They were both almost co-favorites. The favorite in this race was Koala Princess, who I really didn't love. I thought she could win. She was a ridiculous 4.8 to 1. Almost she wasn't even 5 to 1 after getting a dream trip of a century at Kentucky Downs. So I was pretty good about this race. I was pretty correct. Michael, I'll give you one regret. I wish I bet Pizza Bianca, of course, in the contest. I did not. Had a little win place bet just on my own. Okay, we'll move on. Others are going to be here forever. That was a juvenile Fillies race. Let's go ahead and move on to the next race, which was the Juvenile. The Juvenile was a pretty strong opinion, and I got to be honest, this race was really annoying to me, and I'll tell you why here as I bring up the Juvenile. Uh, Let me go full screen here for a second. So I was at I'm trying to remember when I first heard this. I think I was at the hotel on was it Friday morning? I think it was Friday morning. I got to retrace my steps. But I think it was Friday morning. Might have been Thursday night, but I think it was Friday morning. And I heard Jack Christopher is scratched. And I was like, man. And the reason why I was disappointed about Jack Christopher being scratched was not because I was going to bet Jack Christopher. I thought Jack Christopher was the most likely winner. The main reason I was really upset about Jack Christopher is because two reasons. Number one, my top choice was Command Performance. And number two, not only did I know the price was going to go down on Command Performance, but I knew the pace situation is going to be completely different. I thought with Jack Christopher in this race, Command Performance was going to get a very fast pace run into that was going to help his closing kick. I was planning on playing a big. And when I say big, I mean more than the $600 mandatory bet on Command Performance in the BCBC, the contest. I did end up betting Command Performance in the contest. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. But I couldn't bet him as much as I wanted because I was afraid of the trip. I also told my friend Peter Thomas Fornental way before the race that morning. I said they just hand this race to Bob Baffert. Which, listen, I'm not going to get into Bob Baffert how I feel about him. Just from a pure race standpoint, I pretty much knew at that point Corniche went from, in my opinion, a 20 to 25% chance at best to win the juvenile to like a 50 to 60% chance to win the juvenile. I just thought he would be able to clear over now. There's a lot less speed in the race, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's exactly how the race happened. Corniche wired the field, ran well. I'll give it to him. Got a 91 buyer. By the way, Pizza Bianca got a 79 buyer. 79 buyer. So, that's sort of a below average race, but um, Corniche got a 91 buyer for his win. Wired the field. See Papacat second. Giant Game. Giant Game, a horse that, again, was given out on this show uh, a month ago um, by Nick Hines, the Sarge, who loves this horse. It had a little say-so on this horse from a bloodstock standpoint. Won at Keeneland. I actually saw him won the last race at Keeneland on, I believe, Sunday on opening weekend, if I remember that correctly. Um, and then was entered in this race around a very good third. Command Performance. Let me just talk real carefully about Command Performance. Um, Command Performance ran huge, absolutely huge, and you can see there. I'm going to go full screen here for Command Performance. I had a few people text me, send out email, say, "What kind of ride was that on Command?" I think it was IRAD. Again, I apologize if it's not. I'm going off of memory, folks, and I'm on fumes right now, to be honest. But uh, some people, complain about the ride and Command Performance. Guys, I had no problem with the ride. They had to use this horse more from the outside because the pace was not going to develop. If Command Performance is too far back, makes a big run and finishes third, everyone's going to blame the jockey. Why wasn't Command Performance up closer? Guys, the trip just didn't work out. I've got no problem with the aggression that was shown for Command Performance. This horse was 3 or 4 wide like the whole way, and tired late, but still finished what, fourth? Only, I don't know, 5 lengths back, maybe 6 at the most. This horse lost at least 5 or 6 lengths in this race. I've not seen the Trackus report. I'm not seeing, the ground loss. I don't know how many feet that Command Performance lost, but I gotta tell you, I thought he ran huge. I've got no problem Command. I've seen 30 to 1 on this horse in the Kentucky Derby futures. Folks, I'm not like a future better. I don't bet futures very often, especially in November. But if someone, held a gun to my head and said, Howard, pick a horse that you want to bet right now for next year's Kentucky Derby in the futures, I'd be very, maybe I should tape this, right? What is this, November 9th, 2021? I'd be very, very interested in Command Performance for the Kentucky Derby as of this moment. But look, there's horses that haven't even run yet that are going to be superstars. But I thought he wants, this horse wants every bit of ground. He was wide every step of the way. I did bet him. I have no problem with the ride. It just didn't work out. You just move on. That's the way it goes. Let's go ahead and move on to the next race. Again, I don't want to talk too long. The last race of the day, and I guess we're gonna have to talk about this race for a few minutes for obvious reasons, and it was the Juvenile Turf. The Juvenile Turf, won by this horse. Well, sort of won. What a complete cluster this race ended up being. And it had nothing to do with the actual race. It had to do with everything before the race. I'm going to go ahead and show you the official results of this race. And of course, unless you've been hiding under a rock, you know what happened here. You see there's no mutuals for modern games because although he did run, he was taken out of the mutual pool. I'm not going to go through the whole story. I'm sure everyone's looked into it. I'm assuming you would know everything about it. Uh, to give you the very, very short version for those of you that might be confused or don't know what happened, the horse next to Modern Games, the number 2, Albahar, acted up in the gate, threw a fit, had to be scratched. The gate handlers were concerned that Modern Games was also cut or bothered. So, again, let me go full screen. So, the people in the gate handlers, opened up the gate on purpose, opened up the gate for Modern Games to let that horse loose with the jockey still on him, just to make sure he didn't get hurt. Modern Games was not hurt. There's no problems at all. One of the veterinarians was confused, thought the gate was opened by Modern Games, thought the horse Modern Games is the one who jarred the gate open. That state veterinarian, who is, I believe, an employee of California, uh, thought the horse should be scratched the horse. Long story short, they looked at the horse again. He actually went through the gate on his own because a handler opened the gate. Another vet examined him. He was fine. The problem was the initial veterinarian called the stewards. They scratched the horse per rules of California. That horse is now taken out of the mutual pool. They put him back in because he was fit to run. The trainer, Charles Appley, said, go ahead and run him, blah, blah, blah. He was taken out of the pools. It effed up all the horizontal pools. Anyone who had a pick 3, pick 4, pick 5, pick 6, by the way, that included me, on Modern Games, went to the post-time favorite Dakota Gold. Who, by the way, full disclosure, I like Dakota Gold a lot. He was a pick of mine on the blog, not to win, but he was a price play. I was very interested in Dakota Gold, so I'm not going to sit here and say, when I scratched in Dakota Gold, I was, throwing a hissy fit. I wasn't happy. I mean, I thought Modern Games was going to win the race. I was alive to a pick five. Listen, a million people were alive, different stuff. The pick five would have paid, I think, $584. Not a life changing score, but would have got me out for the day and then some. So, I was disappointed by that. I'm sure a lot of people were alive. Um, so I was not alive to the pick six or anything major. The problem from the BC standpoint, which I'll get into tomorrow, is people were scrambling to change their picks because you have to bet, you have to fulfill your minimums. You have to bet of the five Breeders' Cup races, you have to bet three of them $600 or more. That was a mandatory race for me. So because Modern Games was out and I had a lot of my bets go through Modern Games, I had to get scramble the windows and change a lot of bets, and we didn't have as much time to do it as I wanted. Tom wants to know how upset were the BC players. I didn't talk to a lot of BC players about the Modern Games debacle, Tom. I will say there was a lot of booing. I think you probably heard it on NBC. I was actually on the back side. I was by the paddock after the race. I was actually not on the front side, but I thought I heard some booing, and anyone that was on the front side, and I'm assuming on TV, there was a lot of booing. And they weren't booing for the connections of Modern Games or Godolphin or Charles Appleby. They were booing because they basically lost their money and they loved Modern Games. So it was not a good situation. I don't want to go on and on. The CHRB, the California Horse Racing Board, has put out multiple statements that were some of them were not even true. They've changed their story. Folks, don't get me started because I don't want to talk about it anymore. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I've sent out tweets. It's over. It's done with. They need to make some changes with the way they bet. It should either be an all button or you should be able to actually change your pick. That's all I'm going to say about it. I think most people agree with that. Tom said the boos were audible on TV. I'm sure. And then, of course, what does Modern Games do? Modern Games ran a great race, saved ground, blew by the field, won the race, gets the purse. The winner ended up being Tiz the Bomb by the Mutuals, who ran a nice race. I will say that Grafton Street, who ran fourth, I thought was interesting in this race. Mentioned him a little bit on the blog. And McKinnon, who I will very readily admit I did not love in this race originally, had excellent works. And I sent this out through Twitter only. It was not on the blog. It was on Twitter. That I thought McKinnon was maybe a live long shot, and I was upgrading McKinnon because this horse was getting like B and B plus workouts with the workout report. So, anyway, Modern Games wins, and that ended the Friday show. Folks, we're already 40 minutes into the show. We'll probably end up going an hour. I'm going to whiz through the Saturday races. I tend to talk too much. Apologize for all that. Let's go on to Saturday's races. The first race Saturday was the Filly and Mare Sprint. Really not too much to say here. It was a very small field, which is a bit disappointing. Cece, with a big upset in the Filly and Mare Sprint, got 100 Beyer. I did not like Gamine that much. Anyone, again, if you watch my show, you know that. My top pick on the blog and on my show was Bella Sophia. I happened to be literally 15 yards away from Rudy Rodriguez, the trainer of Bella Sophia, after the race. I didn't talk to him, of course, but he was talking to his, the ownership and whatnot. He had no problem. They ran their race. She got a good ride by Saez, just wasn't good enough, plain and simple. Wasn't good enough. Bella Sophia did press Gamine. Edgeway came up the inside, ran a big race. CC comes over the top. I was not surprised Gamine lost. I thought she could be beat. I thought it was going to be by Bella Sophia. Congratulations to the connections of CC and Michael McCarthy. Very underrated trainer. Did a fantastic job, especially lately with CC. Got her primed and ready. CC wins the Filly and Mare Sprint. Let's go on to the next race, the Turf Sprint. Not a big fan of turf sprints. Don't usually like betting turf sprints. I had a relatively strong opinion here, but I also gave some caution. Um, Golden Pal. Did this horse fly out of the gate, folks, or what? I mean, 2 steps in the race, it was over. I don't think I've seen a horse get out of the gate quicker in a while than Golden Pal. Golden Pal was awesome in this race. Golden Pal got a 107 buyer, far and away the best buyer Golden Pal's ever ran. I was dubious of Golden Pal mainly because the numbers. I mean, on the numbers, she just wasn't. He wasn't much better than anyone else. But he ran a monster race, a 107. I did mention on my preview show on last Wednesday that I was afraid of what happened could happen. The fact of the matter is, folks, and I don't regret my bet. I'll talk about my bet in a minute. Um, the fact of the matter is, there was not a great speedball in this year's edition to go with Golden Pal. There was just not a great speed horse or a really, really fast horse early to go with Golden Pal this year. I mentioned that on my blog. I mentioned it on my podcast. So then you're probably wondering, okay, Howard, then why didn't you bet Golden Pal? To be honest, I still even thought if he got the lead, he could be beat. I like Lieutenant Dan in this race. My top choice is Amirati Anna. I don't think Amirati Anna really handled the turn real well. Ran perfectly fine, ran fourth, but really was no threat. Lieutenant Dan got the trip I thought he would. Just couldn't get by Golden Pal. And Charmaine's Mia is a horse I talked about on the blog, and also it's a horse that I gave out on the preview show as sort of a sneaky underneath horse. Went off at 20 to 1, finished a good third. Charmaine's Mia ran well. Um, Joe Saletto mentioned that Golden Pal's second fraction was faster than the opening one. Yeah, Joe, Golden Pal just ran fantastic. No question about it. Props to them. Let's go ahead and move on to the next race. Again, if you're interested in my contest selection, folks, I will be talking details about the contest tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beginning of some very, very good things happening for me. Let's go to the big ass fans. By the way, it cracked me up that they couldn't say ass on NBC. I mean, give me a break. Um, because Brittany and a few people like either they couldn't or wouldn't. I'm assuming if they were allowed to, they would have said it. But the big ass fans, excuse me, mile. This was the beginning of some real toasty things for me. And let me go full screen just for a second. Uh, I'm not saying this to brag at all, but I will say I don't know exactly my third or fourth biggest score ever in my entire life, and it all started with this race with Life is Good. No, I did not put like a $50,000 win bet on Life is Good or something crazy. I don't have that kind of money. I didn't have that money live in the contest, but I did play a double. I'll talk more about it. Um, and Life is Good, I needed, and he came through for me. I'll tell you how much I won tomorrow and the circumstances around it. Um, but Life is Good was absolutely awesome. I thought this was the best horse before the Breeders' Cup. I said it on the little clip with Matt Bernier's show. And by the way, I was really proud. Sorry, I keep going switching screens. On the Matt Bernier show, we want people to send in clips. And listen, I'm going to toot my own horn when I'm right, and when I'm wrong, I'll say I was flat out wrong. So listen, you folks know I'll be honest. We sent little clips into Matt Bernier. Matt Bernier won three things: your best bet of the weekend, your most vulnerable favorite, and a long shot you liked. If you watch the Matt Bernier show, you know that I was part of that. My favorite horse of the weekend in terms of best bet was Life is Good. Life is Good came through for me. I said he was the best horse in the entire weekend before the Breeders' Cup started, and I think he proved me right. He got a 109 buyer. He was awesome. My most vulnerable favorite that I gave out on the Matt Bernier show was Latruska. Fortunately, the racing gods were smiling upon me there. And my long shot play was Master of the Seas. We'll talk about that in the mile in a minute. We'll never know because he didn't get to run. Life is Good. Listen to these fractions, folks. I know you're watching the show. 21 and 4. Again, this is going 2 turns. Now there is a bit of a run up. I believe it's a 30-foot run up in that dirt mile. 21 and 4, 44 and 4, 108 and 3. 108 and 3. Hello. 108 and 3 going 2 turns. Finish 134 and 1 in hand. Probably could have gone 133. Monster effort. Life is good. Life is good is being pointed. Are you ready? For the Pegasus in January in Gulfstream. Guess who else is being pointed to the Pegasus? Knicks Go. Hello. Knicks Go versus Life is Good. Can we please, racing gods? Can we please make that happen? That will be a massive, massive throwdown. I can't wait. I hope that happens. We'll see. Sometimes things never seem to happen, but I'm looking forward to that happening. See money, that is not a third of a furlong, by the way, just to let you know. I don't want to be too argumentative, but it is 200 feet. I mean, 66 yards, etc. Um, so, it is a decent run up, but still, that's a fast fraction, and the other fraction's real fast also. Congratulations to Life is Good, who was a complete monster. Now, the next race. This race, I would say, probably made my weekend what it was, and is the Philly Mare Turf. Sorry, as I bring it up on my screen next to me. This horse right here. This horse. Loves Only You. 660 feet. Thank you, C Money. Okay, so C Money just put in the comment that 660 feet is a furlong. Okay, 600 feet. Fair enough. Loves Only You. Thank you. My love sent to you for Loves Only You from Japan, the first Japanese-based winner of a Breeders' Cup race. And this horse, folks, gave me the biggest score of the weekend and gave me a top 3 or 4 score of my entire lifetime. I'm going to tell you the story of Loves Only You tomorrow on the show. It's a teaser, folks. You're going to want to hear it. I'll tell you the story. Loves Only You pays 1060, went off at 4-1. Was supported mid-pack the whole way. Fantastic ride, mid-stretch. Found an opening. The seas parted. Oh my goodness. By far, if you're wondering like why I see a little bit hoarse, part of it's because I was yelling and screaming a lot, and I'm sort of a quiet guy when I watch races. When Love's Only You won, folks, oh my. That's all I got to say. I'll tell you the story tomorrow about it. Congratulations, Love Only You. Fantastic ride. Um, I couldn't have been happier about the result. Huge win for me in the contest. Again, we'll talk about Love's Only You victory or my involvement in that tomorrow. Warlike Goddess, nice sustained run. I was dubious a bit of Warlike Goddess on his class only because I just thought the American-based horses that she was beating up on all year were subpar. One of those horses that she beat was My Sister Nat for Chad Brown, who ran a very big race at a big price. I liked Love as my second choice, who finished fourth. Was in between horses most of the way, a little bit of an uncomfortable trip. Still, she ran on pretty well. But Love's Only You gets the job done for Japan. A 102 buyer for Love's Only You. The next race, and this ended a string of 3 consecutive picks in a row for people on the Race Day blog and everywhere else. And as I get this up, there it is. Wow, was I happy for this horse. Aloha West, a horse I gave out on the blog, went off at 11-1. I will admit I had Jackie's Warrior on top. Again, let's be honest. I had Jackie's Warrior on top. But as my live long shot in this race, and I did have a win bet here on Aloha West on my own, I also had, I'll just tell you a little bit, I had Aloha West as, I played a small caveman ticket. Now, those of you that watch my show know that I don't usually bet caveman tickets. Let me go full screen for a second here. I did bet a very small pick 6 caveman ticket, had Aloha West on it. I only went 2 deep. And also Love's Only You. So I started the pick 6 with Love's Only You and Aloha West. I was thinking, ooh, if I get lucky, this could be my best score of my life. I also had, let's see, Aloha West was a B. Hindsight maybe could have has an A. I really didn't think Aloha West was a likely winner. I used him mainly underneath, but I thought he could win. Aloha West was a B in my ABC pick five. So Law West, I thought was interesting. I'm really happy for Wayne Catalano. Actually replied to one of his tweets today, and he tweeted me back. So Wayne Catalano, who couldn't have been more disappointed when I saw him at Keeneland when he lost that race, ends up winning this race. Really happy for Aloha West. Dr. Shivel, a horse I did not know. Excuse me, I did not like. I will admit, I didn't like Dr. Shivel. Ran a much better race than I thought. And what happened to Jackie's Warrior? Well, plain and simple, Jackie's Warrior got cooked by a few horses, but mainly Matera Sky, who I mentioned was a very fast horse from Asia. And Matera Sky did exactly what I thought he would do, basically messed up Jackie's Warrior. They went really fast early. Jackie's Warrior was on the inside the whole time. The inside was not the place to be. And so Jackie's Warrior folded his tent, and that allowed partially Aloha West to win. So congratulations, Aloha West took advantage of it. Great ride, barely got up. By the way, brutal, brutal photo. One of many tough photos on Saturday. If you had Dr. Shivel, that is a very tough beat. But I needed Aloha West, so selfishly I was happy about that. Let's see. Let's go ahead and move on. Just looking at some of the comments here. Again, Christine was a huge selection for her. Glad that worked out for you. C Money inside have been dead all week. Yeah, the inside in general, I would agree. C Money was not a good place to be all weekend long. Actually, the first race of the day on Saturday was won by a horse that Bob Baffert train called Triple Tap, who ran like a 108 and something, storming down the middle of the track and closing. Actually, very similar to Aloha West. If you watch the first race on Saturday, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, you definitely want to be on the outside. Let's move on to the mile. The mile, always one of my favorite races. Another was a top choice for me. There's many top choices. This was not a long shot. Space Blues won at 2-1. Got an absolutely dream trip. Great ride, by the way, by William Buick on Space Blues. My only concern on Space Blues was that he's going to be too far back. He was not too far back. He was basically getting a pocket trip. Smooth Like Straight ran very well. The pace was not hot. I didn't think it was. So William Buick knew that beforehand. Got this horse up close to the pace, tipped out, dream trip, went by Smooth Like Straight. I mean, visually, it wasn't like, didn't blow your mind away. But again, it was sort of a slower pace. So, and Smooth Like Straight is a nice horse, especially the fact he got a lonely lead. I will talk about my bet in this race when we talk about the BC tomorrow. I'll go through. Now, I'm not going to go through every single bet tomorrow. And our main focus tomorrow, by the way, is Matt Miller, my live guest. But I will mention a few things. This race pissed me off. I played a try, didn't have it. I'll talk about it tomorrow, even though I had Space Blues on top. Um, and yes, I agree, C Money, that Ivar did run well, finishing for third. He also mentioned that Triple Tap is a half to American Pharaoh. That is correct. So, congratulations to Space Blues, another winner for uh, Godolphin and for Charles Appleby, who had an absolutely ridiculous year here in the states. And Joe mentioned Bernier said the foreign horses. They are. They are. They're just better, Joe. No question about it. Foreign horses are better. The Americans are getting better, but they're still not up to par with the Euros. Let's go on to the next race. By the way, Space Blues got a 106, if I didn't mention that. Space Blues got a 106. The Distaff. Now, these next two races really hurt me from a betting standpoint. Uh, this was a case of I was right, but I was wrong. Let me go full screen. I talked about this race a lot, the Distaff, on the preview show last Wednesday. on my blog, I probably wrote 3/4 of a page on the Distaff. Here's what happened in the Distaff in terms of being right and wrong. I did not like Latruska at all in this race. I was not the only one. There were a bunch of people who didn't like Latruska, so I'm not saying my thought was original. It happened to be correct. I guess, I was fortunate enough to be right. There are a lot of things I didn't like Latruska. I thought they'd be going fast, and wow, did they go fast. The fractions of Distaff were similar to the mile, but again, the Distaff is a mile and eighth race. So they're going a mile and eighth longer. First quarter 21 and 4. Half again was 44 and 4. They went as fast in the Distaff as they did in the mile with Life is Good. And these are females going an eighth of a mile longer. And I was watching with my binoculars, folks, you know, the race from the fourth floor. And as they went by us, just stands the first time, before they flashed the first fraction when Private Mitch was on the lead, and it was Latruska in second. I think it was, as time goes by, was in third. As they were flashing by, I said, "Whoa, they are flying!" And then they flashed at 21 and 4, and I was ecstatic. I was very happy about that. I loved Royal Flag. I liked Clairiere and Malathot. Those are my top three picks. They all ran perfectly fine. They all closed. None of them won. I was a little bit against Dunbar Road as one of those choices. Dunbar Road lost by about an inch. My other three horses finished 3, 4, 5. Two of them were wide. Royal Flag sort of sent Clairiere wide. I'm not sure why they went so wide in the stretch. They were a little wide in the turn. I got no problem with that. The field was bunching together and the inside horses were stopping. The fact that Royal Flag took Malathot like out to the sixth path, I'm not sure why. A little disappointed that they are wide. Just didn't happen for me. I was correct about the pace flow, wrong about the horses. Most people were. March Lorraine wins the race, paying 101.80, knocking almost everyone out of the pick five and pick six. I know a lot of contest players in the room needed Dunbar Road. Um, you can look up people's contest picks when they come out. I won't mention names out of respect to them. One particular person that I've already mentioned on the show tonight had a big win bet on Dunbar Road. That is absolute brutal beat. I don't know what to say. If that person, if Dunbar Road had won, that particular person would have moved way up in the BCBC standings. Felt awful for him. But anyway, congratulations again to Japan for winning a second Breeders' Cup race. Tom Espinoza, the Distaff completed my Shival. Ooh, wow, Tom. Tom, you lost X amount of money by what? By 4 inches? That is brutal. Sorry, Tom. I don't know what to tell you. That is brutal. That's racing luck. That's the way it goes. Hopefully, the racing gods will smile upon you and will make up for it. Let's get into the last two races of the day as we're coming up on an hour on my show, and I wanted to go about an hour at the most. The Longines Turf was just Euro, Euro, Euro all over the place. I thought a Euro would win. I did not have any of these top four. I was completely wrong. Could not have been more wrong about the turf. I thought if Tarnaro was ready, she'd win. She was absolutely awful. Obviously, the uh, the arc took something out of Tarnawa. It had to be. And my sort of sneaky long shot in this race that I did play quite a bit in the contest was Sisfahan, who went off at, I believe, about 16 to 1. Sisfahan, he ran okay. You see, he ran like middle of the pack. You can see there. Ran, what, sixth or seventh. Was closing, just didn't show that explosive kick that he had showed in his previous races. I have no problem with the trip. I have no real problem with the ride. I was just wrong. Okay, you move on. I was wrong. Took a shot, didn't pan out. Yabir, I considered, but he was just really slow by the numbers. Yabir's last race was a 94 buyer beating a subpar 3-year-olds at Belmont. But then he comes here and runs a 105. This horse is obviously getting better. Again, Godolphin, Charles Appleby, congratulations, you got $19. I will talk more about Yabir tomorrow on the BCBC show because the fact that Yabir won was huge, huge for someone that did very well in the contest. I will talk more about that tomorrow. So Yabir winning worked out very well for someone. Well, I'm sure it worked out for many people in the contest, for one particular person. I didn't have Broom, didn't like Tiona, hated Japan, disliked China Maker even more, blah, 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 blah. Listen, we're going to move on. The turf didn't work out for me. Hope it worked out for you, though. Just didn't work out for me. All right. Let's go ahead on to the Classic. Breeders' Cup Classic was a very important race for everyone, of course, in the BCBC because it was the last race of the day. And I'm not going to talk at all about the BCBC and the Breeders' Cup Classic. I'm going to wait for tomorrow on that. I will say that I loved Hot Rod Charlie all along. I said it from day one. He ran okay. He finished fourth. The whole race changed in the first quarter, obviously. I'm sure all of you watched the race, or most of you watched the race. Let me just go ahead and go full screen here. Uh, right out of the gate, Medina Spirit did not break perfectly. He didn't break badly, but he broke a half step slow. And when Medina broke a half step slow, that changed the complexion of the race. I want to be very clear in case you have not heard. So let me go partially screen. Johnny Velasquez went on Twitter and also made a public comment. First, two things I think everyone should know. Number one, he said that from the plan from the start was even if he broke well, he was not going to go 44 to the half to sacrifice his horse. Fine, I got no problem with that. I think Medina Spirit's best chance to win the race was on the lead. I think he'd agree with that also. What changed the complexion of the race was what Johnny Velasquez said in post-race comments and then on Twitter from his own Twitter account. He said that when Medina Spirit didn't break great, he didn't want to rush the horse up. He figured if after the break, if he rushed the horse up, the horse would have absolutely no chance to be in the money. That I can buy. I can accept it. Okay, plan A didn't work. He didn't break great. I go to plan B. Fine. I accept that. But obviously that changed the race because when Knicks Go got, I think, what is it, 23-3 first quarter, maybe it's 23-2, comfortably on the lead, I said to myself, this race is over. I had a bunch of people that said this race was over. He did speed it up to like a 45 half, but again, he likes the turns. Rosario went faster on the second quarter. I think that ended up working to his benefit. Knicks Go ran great. He got a 112 buyer. It was the highest buyer of the entire weekend. I will still say that Knicks Go was vulnerable with pace pressure. He didn't really get it. Everything worked out fantastic for him and Brad Cox. Congratulations to all the connections. Anyone who had Knicks Go, I congratulate. But Joe, I have to sort of agree with you. It was basically a merry-go-round race. Medina Spirit did pass some horses, though. I will give him that. He did pass some horses and finished a very good second. I never would have imagined that it was going to be Knicks Go and Medina Spirit 1-2. I especially would not have imagined they would have gone 1-2 around the track, and they didn't. Because Knicks Go, I think, was third on the first turn with Art Collector doing a little bit of pressing. So listen, the race did not pan out the way I thought. It didn't pan out the way a lot of people thought. However, it did pan out the way some people thought. So if you thought Knicks Go was going to just wire the field and run them off their feet, you were exactly right. However, let's all be honest and fair. Medina Spirit did not break great, and it's not as if Knicks Go thwarted off Medina Spirit the whole time and won, as the next best thing and just a complete monster. That's not how the pace, laid out. That being said, though, Knicks Go deserves all the credit in the world. Ran a 112 buyer, ran great, deserving champion. I'm not knocking Knicks Go at all. I'm just saying the circumstances worked in his favor. That's all. That's horse racing. That's the way it goes. Congratulations to the connections of Knicks Go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my recap of all the races in the Breeders' Cup. I really want to thank everyone who joined in on the show tonight. Tomorrow, real quick now, tomorrow, folks, 8 o'clock, same time, 8 o'clock Eastern Central Time. We're going to have about an hour at the most, a great discussion. And it's going to start with that discussion with my new friend and winner of the 2021 BCBC, Matt Miller. I believe he was on Steve Bick's show. I know that Peter Thomas Forntal interviewed him. Folks, to my knowledge, this is only the third show in the entire country that will have Matt Miller on live tomorrow night talking about not only about his picks in the BCBC, but general contest strategy. This is not a show you're going to want to miss, and I'll chime in also with some of my own picks at the BCBC. I did finish 53rd out of 545 people. I was proud of my showing. At one point, I was up to 13th. That's right, I was up to 13th. I was up to 13th at one point out of 545 people fairly late into the contest, and then things went a little bit south on me, but had a great time. But listen, you're going to be here tomorrow not to listen to me mainly. You'll be here tomorrow to listen to Matt Miller. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to take care of episode 93 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Thanks for watching tonight. Hope we're going to see you tomorrow with Matt Miller, BCBC champ. Good night, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.